The last item we want to address when we're looking at easy fixes in Canvas and UDOIT is images. You might think, what problems could images cause? Typical problem is usually alt text. So what are some of the issues that we might see with alternative text? We're using the file name instead of a descriptive label. The image doesn't have any alternate text. It doesn't have the alt attribute. That's a background HTML thing. I can show you what that looks like, but that's a thing that you could probably send directly to me if you ran into that, because that one can be a little bit confusing. But there is also a simple solution. The text is too lengthy for the screen reader. It appears to be a generic placeholder, and the decorative image doesn't have any alt text tag. So we'll kind of run through what that is. I tried to make sure to get a sampling of all those things if I could within each of those items. So here we put alt text on a chart. Typically you want to keep alt text to, depending on the source, like 120 to 125 characters. UDOIT and Canvas allow for like around 150. I think UDOIT sticks to 150. Canvas holds tighter to the 120 range. So you might see a discrepancy here saying that this is okay as far as length is concerned and UDOIT, but when you do the accessibility checker in Canvas, it might have you close it down even more. So basically we would just need to shorten this. And you might say, well, how do I shorten that? I need all that information. For something like this, a chart, this might be a more complex, or this is a more complex alt text issue that you might want to reach out to our department to discuss what's the best way to approach. Some alt text is pretty straightforward, others can be a little trickier. But for this one, we would probably want to make sure that we explained what the chart's purpose was, and then someplace else in the document, we would probably want to get into some more details. So we might not need to explain all this last part. We might just say this is a chart showing the number of police officers in Crimeville from 2011 to 2019. That might be enough for them to know, at least, again, think about this screen reader, somebody with a vision disability, that they can't see it, they hear what it is. Then as they continue in the text, it explains to them that as the chart shows a decline over the first 4 years, hitting a low point in 2014 and then an increase in 2019 through 2019. So that could live someplace else. And if we wanted them to have even more access to the data and they couldn't see it, we would need to include some sort of data table along with this so that they could at least understand that in 2011 the number was this, in 2012 the number was this, because we can't always assume they're going to be able to see the chart to interpret it. So we would go through and get rid of that information, and we'll see that cuts it way down to where we want it to be, and then we can click on save and go to our next issue. Now this one, there's a picture of a display case with some baked goods in it, and it just says image.png. Okay, that's the file name. By default, most screen readers will put the file name in there because that's all they have to go off of. So we don't want that there because, again, that's not very descriptive. If I'm listening to this through a screen reader, I just get to the fact there's an image and it just says image.png. I have no idea what that image is. I have no idea why it's there. So I need something a little more descriptive. Now I will say that description can be different depending on the context of the course. So we'll go down here real quick and look at this page because I kind of had this set up for this. What can we put in there as potential alt text? Depending on what the course was about, it might change what we list. So if it was culinary, we might talk about just the display case and what's in it. If this is a nutrition course, it might be referencing high sugar, high fat, high calorie desserts. If it was a business course, we might talk about how it's set up to market and illustrate the product in a good light. So again, depending on what the image is there for, you have to kind of determine what that text needs to be and how much text needs to be there with it. One other thing I want to look at before we forget, some of these have links to the webaim.org, and this can give you a lot more information. So by all means, reach out to us if you don't understand or you need help with any of these things, but UDOIT has resources built directly in addition to the resources that we have. We have the videos that we're putting out directly. We have a whole playlist that has more in-depth on kind of the why of some of these things. So there are a lot of things there that you can use to inform yourself a little bit if you're struggling with any of these concepts. So here you could figure out what you wanted to put in there and update that information, and then go ahead and save. Here, this one doesn't include an alt attribute at all. I purposely went in and took it out so that it would show up. This is just a picture of campus. So I might just say aerial shot of Lake Michigan College. And that would be enough. That might be all it needs to have. One thing to keep in mind here, I did note that it was an aerial shot because of the angle it's at, but I don't need to say image of or picture of. A screen reader will announce those things automatically, so we don't have to put that into our text description. We can just start in with the actual content and skip over that part. This is one that you might see in your course. I stole this specifically. A lot of you have an old agenda template that had that image there. It doesn't really add anything to the table itself that had the agendas in it. This was for outcomes, as you can see is linked here. In another video, I'm going to show you how to use the template we're going to provide to get rid of those tables altogether. So if you have some of those and it keeps marking that you have table issues and you're not sure how to get rid of it, I'm going to show you a real easy way to eliminate those and make them more accessible and, in all reality, look better in your courses. But for something like this, it doesn't add anything to what we're talking about. So let's open it up real quick and look at it. So down here we have table, and tables are fine, but again, they don't work real well with screen readers. It can be kind of difficult to understand where things go. At one point in time, this was kind of the gold standard of how you did things as far as layouts. You put things into a table and that kept stuff where it was supposed to be on the screen, and it was perfect. But now with accessibility, that's no longer the case. So eventually we want to just replace this entire thing. But if you do have images like here, these are obviously just kind of like adding to, what we're looking at, the outcome or the goal, the resources, the activity checklist. Those are things that we could put in there. It makes the page look nicer. It breaks up some of that wall of text monotony that we get into. But when we have images like that, we don't need to alt text those. We can just mark them so that the screen reader just kind of ignores that they're there. And that's what that mark image as decorative is for. It just basically says that it puts it into the code that it's a decorative image, and we don't even need to mention it when we go through with the screen reader because of how it's set up. So if you do have images within your course, some of them could be taken care of that way.